Welcome back to another Q&A episode. My name's James. I run KibbleWatches here in Clerkenwell, London, where I buy and sell watches ranging from a couple £100 up to tens of thousands of pounds, from vintage to modern. Everything you could possibly imagine is over at KibbleWatches.co.uk. And this series, you guys and girls ask your questions. You can either do it via the comments section, you can email me info@KibbleWatches, or you can just shoot me a message on social media. If you would like to stay anonymous or just have an abbreviation of your name, just let me know. And then I answer your questions. It's as simple as that. So I look forward to reading your questions for the next episode down in the comments. Now, before we crack on with the 7 questions in today's video, which are all listed below in the description, and there's time stamps so you can skip to those specific videos. I'm going to get my words out this episode. Before we do that, what is on wrist? I'm wearing a gorgeous 1960s Jaro-Perigo Art Deco 18 karat gold with onyx markers, and the marker at 3 o'clock is like a hidden date. So that's actually a date marker and not another onyx marker. This has just come back from service with my watchmaker, and I'm doing the really difficult and hard job of wrist testing this over the weekend. I don't know how I'm going to survive, so we'll see how that goes. But this probably will be coming for sale soon. Unfortunately, can't keep them all, but I do absolutely love this watch. So get in contact if you'd like to know more details on this exact piece. Now, I did miss last week's Q&A, and I apologise for that. I wanted to try and do these every single week, and I'm going to aim for that. But if I miss a week, it will probably be the next week. So once a week, ideally on a Sunday, 9:30 a.m. If not, every other Sunday, 9:30 a.m. And to put it into perspective, you guys and girls have been keeping me so busy that I'm recording this fairly late on Friday. So I'm recording on the Friday. I need to get it edited before I go, uploaded, scheduled, and it goes up on the Sunday. And obviously, be sure to check out the drop on the Saturday. So let's start with question 1, and that is from David Cooper 352. He actually asked the first 3 questions, so thank you very much. He says, which other watch YouTube channels do you follow, and can you recommend any other watch content like magazines or blogs? Great question. I have to be honest, I don't watch or read that much content of watches anymore, because when I do have my spare time to be able to do that, I'm usually reading a book or I'm watching a TV series with my wife. I think because I'm in watches every single day, my spare time, or the time when I'm doing photography and I'm listening to something, is a podcast or watching YouTube videos, and they're not watch related typically. There are lots of great channels out there. A lot of you probably already follow them. There's like Bark and Jack, there's Nico, there's Federico Talks Watches, I'm missing loads of people, Long Island Watch. There's so many great channels out there. Just One More Watch, Jody, is another good one. And I'm missing probably everyone, and I apologise if anyone is watching this. But there's so many good people out there. You can go tune in for them. They produce very good content. In terms of magazines or blogs, I mean, Hodinkee always great. You know, they've got a lot better again recently, and I know they're always sort of in the watch circle. They can be memeified, I guess you'd call it, but they are good. Fratello, Time and Tide are fantastic. They're doing a really good job, especially on the content creation side as well. SJX are another good one. In terms of blogs, it depends on what you're after. There's Screw Down Crown by King Flume. I've been, subscribed for that for a long time now, and that's probably one of the few things I actually do read on the train, because his writing is fantastic, and also the subjects he covers are just brutally honest. I really enjoy that, especially as a dealer. Being on the inside of the industry and the stuff he's talking about, he's clearly well versed in it. Another great one is Periscope, if you're into the sort of like deep dives and the digs and the sort of the not so nice side of the industry. I'd definitely check that out. But yeah, I think that covers it all really. I mean, I think the better question would be for you guys and girls who probably watch way more and listen to way more and read way more than I do. What would you recommend? I always have Oracle Time on the table for the magazines. They're fantastic. Hodinkee as well. I have the Hodinkee magazine and Watch Pro. I almost always have those magazines in circulation on the desk that people can flick through whilst they're in the office. But yeah, let us know down in the comments, what would you recommend for video, magazine and blogs, those kind of things, because I think that will be more beneficial to you all to hear your perspective. Question number 2, again from David Cooper, thank you. He said, would you ever consider expanding KibbleWatches, for example, employing someone or partnering with another dealer? Fantastic question. So I have had employees in the past. It's been fantastic. It was Definitely made my life a lot easier, that's for sure. I do a lot more work now than I used to, which is a crazy thing to say considering I'm probably twice as busy as I used to be, and somehow I'm making it all work. And I think that's just the systems I've got in place, the processes, everything is simplified in a way to make it very streamlined. But in regards to employing someone, yes, I mean, some of the weeks I've had recently have been so busy where I've not been able to do certain things, and I'm doing it when I get home, once the kids are down. Well, to be honest, I'm getting home way past that anyway in general, Monday to Friday at the moment. So yes, I think if I have weeks regularly like that, I will have to have someone physically in the office to help out. The problem with that is it's very difficult to find staff. It's very difficult to find people in this industry because the pay, expected pay is quite high, because obviously it's a luxury goods industry and there's nothing wrong with that. I think if you're doing a great job, you should be paid for it and you should be paid a fair price. But obviously I am in London, where the price has to be quite a bit higher than most other places for it to be fair, and I would want it to be fair. There's also the aspect of experience. Already my time is crushed pretty much, so finding the time to educate and teach someone is going to be very difficult. But then the most difficult part is trust. At the end of the day, I have a lot of stock and a lot of money in that stock, and I've got to trust someone to be able to handle that stock correctly, not steal the stock. They've got to have access to key fobs and everything to get in. They've got to have access to the safe codes. There's a lot that goes into it. So I don't know, to be honest with you. I think if I can, I would like to continue with just being me, and eventually my wife will actually be in the office with me once our kids are older and at school. That is the plan. And my wife is already helping out a lot more. My dad does some of the writing bits for the website. So yeah, it's a family business at the end of the day. And would I like to keep it that way? Absolutely. I think if I can, which is my goal, I want to keep it a family business. So as of this moment, I don't think I'll be expanding KibbleWatches in that way. In terms of partnering with another dealer, again, it's that exact same problem, I would say. Not in terms of trust. There's a lot of very trustworthy dealers I like a lot. But I think we all have slightly different styles, and that's what makes us us. So I'm not too sure how a collaboration would work, really. And when you shop with KibbleWatches, I can control the experience you're going to get to a degree. There's certain things you can't control, but I know I'm going to give you my absolute. And not to say other dealers won't, but if they're showing you a piece of my stock, are they going to give the same energy that I would with my stock? Those kind of things just instantly come to mind. But I have to be honest, it's not something I've thought about in much detail, and I'm not too sure what that would entail. So if you want to elaborate, please do. I think it's an interesting thing, like what would that look like? And the final question 3 from David Cooper is, would you consider doing another series of YouTube videos where you interview other contacts in the industry? It could be manufacturers, makers, or even collectors Absolutely. It's a great idea. I think it's great content, and I know a lot of very interesting people in the industry, and I've been doing it long enough that, and I'm close enough to a lot of the brand owners, I think I could get those guys on as well, and just have a very open and honest conversation. I would love to do it. The problem again is time, matching schedules, getting the recording done correctly, getting the audio right. I am not very good with cameras. So I'd have to bring someone from the outside in to maybe help with this, the editing, the processing, getting it done nicely, and I would just be sat there almost like a podcast style. And I would love to do a podcast as well, but I think it would have to be someone coming in to do it. So I mean, if you know anyone who would be interested in making that happen, maybe it's you, shoot me a message. Let's see what we can do. I'm not too sure how it would work, what it would look like, what the cost would be, but it is something I would be very interested in doing. So yeah, and I think people would enjoy it as well, especially with like collectors and watchmakers and other watch dealers, and just keeping this same air of just pure honesty, I think would cut through the bullshit. And I think, if I could keep that from the get, if you're coming on the show, you can't just smoke and mirrors your way through it. We're gonna get down to the dirty details and like the hard bits of what we do. So yeah, I think that'd be cool. Question 4 is from Mark. Are forums a good place for information? So it's a bit of a longer question than that, but that's what I've narrowed it down to, because he said I've mentioned forums in a few episodes now and haven't had the best of reactions when I mention it. So let's just clarify something. Forums can be a fantastic place for information, and even myself, you have to excuse, Clerkenwell is so busy and noisy at the moment. Even myself, I will refer to forums for information if I need to as well. I think we all do it. They can be great, but they can also be very bad. And what I mean by that is, all right, now the idiots who can't drive have moved along. What was I saying? So there can also be a place for bad information, and there is a lot of keyboard warriors, a lot of people who, you know, in my opinion, have no right to be claiming the things they're claiming with no experience. A lot of people will read a lot online but never get hands-on experience, and I think that is the most important thing. So I think you've just got to take everything you read online and everything you hear with a pinch of salt. At the end of the day, we're in an industry that's constantly evolving and information's constantly being revealed. People like Periscope are always showing us more information that, I have to be honest, most of us don't really know. They're digging deep. He's digging deep into like brands when they actually started and some of the marketing claims that are just not true. So my point is, I think you should read as much as you can, especially if you want to get into this. Read and learn as much as you can. Listen to as many people as possible, but form your own ideas and opinion based on your experience. So if you handle something and you think something and you then dig deeper and learn, and you still, you know, are rooted in this thought, then that's where you're at, you know. I think, and just be open to being wrong, but also just take everything with a pinch of salt. I think I've said about 500 different things there. Hopefully you get where I'm coming from. I have nothing against forums. I want to make that clear. I think they're fantastic and they're great places for collectors and enthusiasts to sort of, you know, talk with other collectors and enthusiasts. I think it's a vital part to this industry. I just think we've got to be careful with taking everything you see on a forum as gospel, because I've had certain times where people have said, James, I think you're wrong on this. See this forum post, and it's a guy named Dave Loves Watches 222, and he said based on one watch he's handled, he's discovered this. You know, so that's all I'm saying. Just be careful. Question number 5 is from Justin Galore 123. Thank you for the question, Justin. He said, have you ever considered getting a lady in to model women's watches, or you generally plan to stick to men's? Great question, and my wife has brought this up many times. If I was able to get her into the office more for the ladies' watches, I would have her wrist modelling the ladies' watches, because some of them do look a little silly on my wrist, but I do stays on my 7-inch wrist. Yes, I would like to do that if I can get my wife in more. In terms of, there isn't really, I know obviously a few women in London in the different offices and stuff like that, but I don't think it's the sort of thing I could just ask to come in and wrist model for me. But yes, I would very much like to have the ladies' watches shown on ladies' wrists. And one thing Leah, my wife, suggested, which I think is a great idea, is not just that, having it on mine and her wrist, every watch, even the big Panerais, because, you know, and everything else in between, because women will buy whatever they want to buy and enjoy whatever they want to enjoy, same as men do. And men are wearing watches that are 25, 28 mil, 30 mil, you know, I'm seeing it far more often, and I enjoy watches as small as 30, 32 on occasion as well. So I think it would be a good opportunity to show wristwatches on 2 different sizes of wrist. I think my wife has maybe like a 6-inch wrist, 5 and 3/4. I'm not too sure, I'd have to find out, but a much smaller wrist than mine. So again, I think that would be a good thing. Let me know, do you think that would work? Do you think that would be nice to see? I think there's definitely no harm in it. It's just finding the time to make that happen and making that work, which may come when our kids are older, and I know it's a long time to wait, but there's a lot of things I want to do when that time comes, and doing it any sooner is just not going to be possible at the moment. So I'm open to any ideas. Question number 6 is from Stefan. He says, most annoying thing customers do that they possibly don't realise are annoying. Great question. I probably should have thought about this before the video. I like keeping these a bit more on the cuff and just on the fly. What are annoying? I mean, based on the experiences I've had, the people who have done this didn't realise why it would be inconsiderate and annoying, but I think most people watching this video will completely understand why you don't do stuff like that in any industry, not just this one. When someone says they'll take a watch, either on the phone or in, you know, on WhatsApp or whatever it might be, and you know, you get all their invoice details, you shoot them over an invoice, and then they just disappear. You know, they don't update you. You ask, you know, is everything okay? If you change your mind on the watch, and they just don't bother to get back to you. And typically, when we send someone an invoice, we put that watch on hold, so that way it's yours. You know, if you have said I will take it, it's your watch until once you've paid, obviously. So we put the watch on hold. That stops it being purchased by anyone else. And then, you know, there are occasions where someone goes, oh, damn, I was going to take that watch. No bother, there's this other watch I found, I'll take that instead. And it's not always, obviously, with myself. So those situations where someone says they'll take a watch, don't, and you potentially lose out on the sale, it's just common courtesy, and I think just being considerate to let someone know, hey, I was a bit brash, or I've spoken to my significant other and we don't think it's the right, like whatever it might be, even if it's nonsense, which I have to be honest, when these sort of things happen and people do let me know, usually it's a very unbelievable story, how something could change after 5 seconds. But hey, that would be one of the things I would say is quite annoying, but it can happen. So just let the person know. That's a nice thing to do, because if you then come back, and I've had this as well, 6 months down the road wanting to buy a different watch, I'm not going to sell that watch to you because, I don't know what's going to go on here. Is it worth my time to write up an invoice, email it over to you, put the watch on hold? Are you going to actually take the watch and take it when it comes, or are you going to just want to return it? You've shown yourself to be a bit too flaky there. So hopefully that makes sense. So just let the person know, me or any other dealer. If you're buying a car and you say you'll take it, do the same thing. It's common courtesy. And I would say it's the same when negotiating. So when people say, if you could do that for £5,000, I'll take it, and you say, okay, £5,000, it's yours, and then all of a sudden they go, actually no, 4.8, or they try and renegotiate on a negotiation where you've agreed a price. Don't do that as well. It doesn't sit right. You're not going to get a good response, and you're going to be treated as a bit of a joke. So just keep that in mind. The most annoying thing I would say actually is when people book an appointment and don't turn up and don't notify me of changes. Again, if things happen, family emergency, a meeting comes up at work, you just don't want to come anymore. Like, these things are completely fine. There's no problem. Just let me know, because when I have it where people want to book an appointment to view 5 different watches. I get those watches out of the safe. I get them prepared. I set the times. I make sure they're all nice and clean, as they should be. But everything's out on display, ready for you to come in. Coffee's on, maybe, that kind of stuff. And then they just don't show up. And obviously, I give people 10, 15 minutes of everything staying out before I assume they're just not turning up, because people run late, trains get delayed, tubes stop working, these common things. So yeah, it's a waste of time, and it also takes that away from me doing other stuff or someone else taking that appointment. And as a self-employed person, this is how I make a living. So you are directly affecting how I make a living when you do stuff like that. So yeah, don't do stuff like that, basically. Let me know, is there anything you think that maybe people do or you've heard? Let me know down in the comments. And now to the final question of the day, which is actually a positive one. And I just want to apologise if it sounded a bit moany and a bit grumpy in the last question. But I think we're all allowed to moan and be a bit grumpy every now and again. So hopefully you agree. Final question of the day is from someone who wishes to remain anonymous. He asked, best part about being a watch dealer, and would I recommend it? Great question. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. If you're into watches. If you're not into watches, don't bother. You will make far more money doing, with far less work, in my opinion, doing other things. This is something you've got to do out of a passion, and you've got to enjoy watches, and you've got to be excited about watches. Every day I'm learning something new. I'm seeing watches I've never seen before, stuff like this that I'm just like, this is insane. Some designer at some point at Gerald Perregaux thought this up and they made it. It's quite polarizing. It's not a design that everyone would have liked then and won't like now. And I think that's kind of fascinating. But anyway, so I would totally recommend it, but be patient if you are going to do it. It is not easy to get into. It takes a lot of time to build the trust from people, as it should. And it takes a long time to do it the right way. You've got to figure out your processes. There's a lot involved in it. So be patient, be prepared to put 5-6 years sort of aside, just in the early days of hustling and bustling and making it work, and making your mistakes and learning from them, and building your brand and all that kind of stuff. So if you can do that and you're prepared to do that, then absolutely. And best part about being a watch dealer, I think, is just the fact I get to play with watches for a job. I mean, how insane is that when you really think about it? Every day I am handling so many watches. I'm speaking to people about watches. I'm selling watches. I'm buying watches. I'm consigning watches. I'm getting watches repaired for people. As I say, I'm learning new stuff every day. I mean, as someone who's actually a collector and enjoys watches, it really is a dream, and someone who hasn't got the dexterity or the patience to be a watchmaker. I didn't really want to do auction. It was just too much volume and too many variables. I enjoyed retail, actually. I thought that was quite fun, but again, I wanted to be my own boss. It's always been the case. So yeah, for me, this is literally a dream job. It is not easy. It is damn hard work, it's long hours, and sometimes it can be absolutely awful, I'll be honest with you. And the taxes and VAT, all the usual stuff you get with every business in every industry, all that bit sucks. But again, it's part of the process. You know, not to get too crazy, but you know, I'm grateful for what I've got, and I'm very fortunate to be in the position I'm in. And yes, it is down to hard work, but it's down to a hell of a lot of luck as well, being in the right places at the right time, meeting the right people and getting the right exposure. So I'm super grateful for what I do for a living, to be honest, as hopefully a lot of you have met me know. So yes, become a watch dealer if you've got the patience to sort of hustle and bustle for that amount of time, just to maybe make a small amount of money as profit, and then you're off to the races. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I really do look forward to reading what your questions are for the next episode, and I will do my best to not sound moany and grumpy again. All right, thank you all very much for watching. Enjoy your Sunday, and I'll see you all again hopefully next Sunday, if not the Sunday after. Take care. Bye-bye.